Chapter 11. Hanami and Shiro are amazing. That's something Amarilla had learned the moment they stepped into their city. Their auras are encompassing, vast, yet warm and guarding. Their strengths and magics far outpowered any of her kind. But, perhaps most of all, they held a bond tighter than she's seen, stronger than any bonds of love and marriage. They know each other, understand, and accept one another, and she can only dream to have someone like the honored guardian by her side. She was jealous of Hanami. She had beauty, amazing powers, and a trusted companion. She had everything. But as she saw Hanami cry for the honored guardian fall, his injured form torn and bleeding, shame rained down upon her heart. How could she be jealous of her, now seeing the pain and worries the girl carried deep within? How could she even feel as such, knowing that she had offered to help cleanse their mountain of its corruption? She needs to make up for it, but she knows the two won't stay for long. She can feel it. Their destiny leads to more. Their paths will continue far beyond what she can foretell with her magic. The near future of theirs is clouded, hiding a terrible darkness, waiting to claw into them at their worst. She told her about it, and she nodded, knowing it as well. And it awed her. To still continue despite knowing what awaits, what strength must one hold to do so confidently? So she decided. As she watches the two converse happily around a table, recovering from their recent fight against the last remaining, great dragon, she decided that she won't stay idle no more. She may not hold the strength to stand with them, or even to look at their backs. But she'll move when others can't, moving past and onwards. After all, that's all she can do now. A palpable feeling of tension lingers in the air, and Shiro can't help but glance around warily, despite knowing there are no current threats around him. The fairly large opening he's in is occupied by a large army of dragoon guardians and priestesses, each of them knowing full well the monster that lies beyond the large stone door at the far end of the opening. With the 3 great dragons killed and their corruption purified, the number of stray dragons around the city has greatly diminished, so much so that there hasn't been any battles for them to do. The lack of dragons only served the opposite, however, amplifying the feeling of tension and wary confusion, and it's only when Hanami reveals that all the dragons have retreated close to the core of the mountain, seeking refuge in its pulsating corruption. It was quickly decided for them all to follow them here, to purge them all for good. Shiro looks down at his arm, fiddling slightly with the 3 metal bracelets on it. They are all defensive mystic codes Hanami had forged for him after his survival against the first great dragon. He's still quite confused on how and where she's made them, but there've been too many unanswered questions as of late, so he simply pushed the thought back for later. Shiro? He looks up, seeing Hanami looking at him, her green eyes slightly narrowed. Are you ready? He nods and stands, following her to the large stone doors. He trades several glances with the dragoons, and they all nod, their silent resolve shining in their eyes. It makes him somewhat nervous actually, having the faith of an entire race resting on his shoulders. But he's not alone. Hanami blasts a small opening through the door, just large enough for them both, and they walk through. Hanami's new staff shimmers into her hands, and Okita's noble phantasm is conjured into his hands. Slowly, they begin to walk forward, the light of Hanami's staff lighting their way through the darkness. A slow, almost static-like pulse begins to ring in his ears, growing louder the more he walks. Hanami seems to be more affected though, which is understandable, since her mega sense is tied with her hearing. Her eyes are narrowed slightly and her grip on her staff tightens, but she keeps walking, and so does he. Then, as the pulsing takes over the entirety of his hearing, a wave of wind pulses out across the darkness, and before them, a fluorescent purple light begins to grow. There you are, my old friend. He hears Yomer chuckle, and all the static stops. The entire room lights up, revealing a giant purple crystal floating in the large opening therein, and the thousands of corrupted dragons basking in its pulsing light. Avalon instantly activates, generating a golden glow around his body, warding off the wave of corruption the crystal is emitting. Let's do this. With a confident smile, Hanami slams the butt of her staff onto the floor. The air around them sparkles, twinkling like the stars in the midnight sky, before clearing and forming a cocoon of spinning prana bullets surrounding them. They glitter one last time before they're fired, dicing through the waves of dragons rushing around them. More prana surges into the air, before firing down onto the rocky floor as holy missiles, destroying and purifying the legions of corrupted dragons, creating a small path towards the floating crystal. Hanami swiftly begins her charge, rushing towards the crystal as she gunned and slashed away at any approaching monsters. Shiro follows closely behind her, guarding her against any dragons that gets too close. Then, the ground rumbles and tears, and giant dragons begin to emerge, their eyes glowing an angered red. They continue their charge, though now with Shiro at the helm, hacking away any roadblocks in their way. As the army of dragons begins to decline, more and more magic-resistant dragons begin to emerge out of the chaos, their scales keeping them unharmed from Hanami's holy bombardment. Hanami completely forgoes her staff, instead going with her new twin-colored sword, while Shiro remains as their spear, cleaving through the enemy ranks with the Kojiki Kaimitsu, fully intent on reserving his prana. But plans hardly ever survive the execution. Clang! Shiro winces as he sees the katana lodge itself into a particularly tough dragon's scales, hearing the metal hissing against the tough scales. He quickly switches it out for the titan's blade, unwilling to find out what will happen when Okida's noble phantasm shatters, and slams down the sword onto the offending dragon, cleaving the damn thing in half. With the presence of the dragon-slaying blade, the dragon's charge slows, but it doesn't last long. But the small gap in motion let Hanami charge forward uninterrupted with all her speed, blitzing over most of the dragons and planting herself right onto the large purple crystal. He nearly laughs at the comical shout of pain he hears from the distant, but he stifles it, instead opting to hack apart a nearby dragon's head, blowing away the dragons around it. Then, everything stops. All the dragons cease their movements and turn towards the crystal. So does he, and it's to his horror that he sees Hanami begin to bleed, her bleeding eyes a bright shifting blue as wisps of white and purple light dances around her form. Her teeth are grit and her body is tense with pain as her hands are dug into the crystal. Then the dragons begin moving again, but now heading back towards the crystal, and towards Hanami. He doesn't have any time to shout her name as the large stone door blocking their way back suddenly explodes, crumbling apart like it was never even there. The dragons stop moving again, but this time quickly begins to shuffle away in panic. Shiro remains there, transfixed at the gigantic spinning magic circle in the air, its green glow contrasting against the crystal's purple light. The circle melds together into an orb of twisting and spiraling energy, the heat morphing the air around it. A choir of shouts sounds in symphony, and the world goes white. Viriscent asteroid. A rain of green light falls upon the parting legion of dragons, a single blast easily tearing through their normally magic-resistant scales. Rays of light continue to rain down, burning and tearing through the battlefield, killing the dragons and forcing the larger dragons to shield themselves from the harmful light. Soon, it ends, but the attack is not over. Dragoons of all kinds fly into the large opening, their weapons shimmering a bright green. Idly, he notices the weapons they carry, all looking much sturdier and more powerful than before, and he realizes why Hanami has been missing the past 2 days. They begin tearing into the army of dragons, and it's awe-inspiring, seeing them continue to fight despite the slowly accumulating wounds on their body and the much larger dragons in their path. Have faith, both in your skills and your blade, and it shall cut through any adversaries. He remembers those words, said at the night before adversary fell upon his world, and the puddle of doubt and worry in his heart vanishes. Hanami is up there trying to destroy the crystals. The dragoon warriors are out on the field, putting their lives on the line. What the hell am I doing? A flame ignites, and his entire body explodes in a shower of white light, its shine like the light of the moon at midnight. Now, wield my soul as your blade, and we shall attain victory. Uriel vanishes, replaced by Okida's katana. But more than that, his casual clothes are no more, instead changed by a short white hakama, paired with a pair of black shorts and boots. A white and blue haori whips around his shoulders, and a flowing black scarf is tied around his neck. His hair, normally red, is now an almost pinkish white, and his eyes are a pale gold. The strength of his natural body is coupled with the spirit origin of the woman known as Okita Tsuji, and with his resolve sharpened like a blade, he leaps forward, surpassing the sound barrier with ease. He rears his sword back with relaxed focus, whipping it forward and slicing through hordes of dragons as he goes past. Knowledge of the legendary swordswoman, much more than he's ever had before, filters itself neatly into his brain, and his body follows, acting upon them as instinct. Structural analysis goes off in near auto, scanning the dragon's many weak points in a moment before he acts upon them with his blade. All noises are drowned out. The voices normally present in his head are silenced. The sounds of battle are muted. All that's left is the calm pounding of his heart, and his and Okida's will, merged as one. And together, their sword strikes as one. It hurts. Everything hurts. I can feel it, slowly cutting away at my sanity, slowly chipping away at my perception of reality. I saw it coming really, but still, not that I'm here, slowly drowning deep into the corrupted void, I can only endure. Endure and wait, as I continue sinking deeper into the evident nothingness beneath me. The corruption reaches into my body, my mind, my soul, but I don't let it enter. I keep them at bay, using the holy attunement I took from Avalon, and shielding my being, doing my best to keep myself sane as I delve into the hearth of its corruption. I can feel my body growing cold, and my skin wet from what I assume is blood, but I continue. Onwards, deeper. And I sink. It's all dark, darker, yet darker. Things begin to grow hazy, a sign that the corruption has begun seeping into my mind. I redouble my efforts, erecting an even stronger shield over my mind and soul, leaving my outer body to suffer. Indescribable pain floods through my system, but I keep my consciousness submerged, not allowing the stinging pain to bring me out. Finally, as the shield around my mind shatters, I see a light at the bottom of the well. It's a pulsating, almost twisting purple, but I can see through it, seeing the gentle green light that dwells inside. I stop close to it, and with my heart steeled, I reach into the light. Tainted black fills my core, and my mind shatters. But my subconscious hand continues to reach deeper into the light, and as my soul begins to rot away, I feel a tingle. And all returns, the corruption blasting away from my being in a nova of light. My prana reaches inside, and I blast the core with as much holy prana as I can manage, blowing away the purple light surrounding the green. Winds blow outwards, tendons are torn, and my body shatters, blood flowing out of the many cracks recently formed. I smile, pulling my prana back into my body, and taking with it my true prize. Due to certain actions, you have gained the skill, attribute enchant, dragon. The smile grows to a grin, and I let myself fall from the now green crystal. The wind blows around me, and the ground is quickly approaching. The ground never hit me however, as a white-haired man catches me, his pale golden eyes shining with worry and pride. He smiles, and seeing it, all the tension in my being melts away, and I drift off into sleep. Honestly, Shiro smiles wryly, gently wiping away the bangs of her hair from her face. Can you do something normally for once? Though that's somewhat ironic, considering who's saying it. He ignores the thought and runs back towards the crumbled entrance, careful not to further injure the sleeping girl in his arms. He slowly begins to pick up speed, occasionally using a blocking dragon as stepping stones and crashing its head onto the floor in the process. There, he leaves Hanami in the care of the dragoon priestesses, before he turns to return to the fight. One of the female priestesses, one he nearly mistakes for Saber if not for her draconic features, comes up to him in worry, but he shakes his head and smiles, giving one last glance at his unconscious partner before saying to her, "Hanami's done her part. I'll help to take care of the rest." He leaps forward, his sword in his hands once more. "Why?" she asked out, barely keeping her voice from raising into a desperate shout. "Why do you continue to fight?" The three women looked to her, holding the determination that she never thought humans would ever hold. "We live day by day to survive. Countless die out in the wild, and countless more will follow if the beasts continue to come." The woman in the center looks to her, her eyes a brilliant electric green. "If we become content with who we are now, we will never improve, and stagnation will only bring destruction." Those words ran against all that she lived for. She was the perfect mix of humanity and godhood, of power and wisdom, of knowledge and treasures, of pride and beauty. She was the key between their bond, the bridge that kept the gods' keystones. And these women, who were by no means weak or unintelligent, nor ugly, or without spirit, continue to fight, placing their lives on the line for their king. It was absurd. And so she laughed, but not with pity or pride, but of simple amusement and understanding. She cradled her head in her hands, hiding the smile on her face. Slowly, she stands from her golden throne, and she looks down towards the three women. "Tell me, will you continue to stand, even as the gods rained down their wrath from their unsightly thrones?" A moment of confusion passes between the three, but they soon turn to her and nod. This time, she smiles, not hiding it, and golden portals shimmer into existence behind her, the gates to her treasury opened. "Bring all our soldiers here. I shall give them the strength I have stored, the treasures I have gathered." The three stand in awe, and she narrows her eyes at the skies above. "The gods have abandoned us, but I will not. And I will make their heaven come crashing down." Ah, those truly were golden days. Gilgamesh laughs at the memory. It was the moment she changed her own fate, so to say, and she will forever hold it as her proudest of days. To witness the growth and fall of humanity is her one and true task as the keystone of the gods. Humanity itself is her children, her citizens that she must lead, till their very end. Truly, it saddens her to see just how different her people have become. Hate and self-doubt gnaw at their hearts, and the pressures of society stifle growth. It is much like a tyrant, forcing its grasp down upon those beneath it. She despises it. But all that aside, the improvements are incredible. Dirt paths are now roads of concrete, walls of stone are now made of steel and glass, and strange mystical technologies are now widespread all across the earth. The blessings of the age of gods are no more, but that hardly stifled humanity's growth, and they instead turned to manipulating the world around them. Astounding. Is something on your mind, my king? Ah, right. She'd forgotten that the man is standing by her side. Tosaka Tokiomi, the head of the Tosaka family and a genius magus. His powers leaves many to be desired, but that is understandable. The ending of the Age of Gods has not been kind on Magi, and it's a feat of perseverance for magecraft to still exist in this age. He's a skillful, exemplary man. A powerful and respected magus in his community, holding a well of knowledge and experience in his road towards the root, and a husband with a loving wife and a daughter. Idly, she can see his eyes gazing out towards the sky, staring into the distance, wishing to see something far beyond the horizon. An excellent man and master, and seeing fumble around with general household items is quite amusing to watch. It does grate her to see him fail to use the stove, however. Indeed there is. She says, gazing up high into the starry sky above. Has the Grail chosen its last master? The man nods. Yes. He says simply, his face set to a slight frown. Yes, it has. And what might be bothering you, Tokiomi? His frown deepens, and his brows furrow in frustrated confusion. The circumstances are simply strange. She raises an eyebrow, and he elaborates. From what the church has gathered, the last master is a young girl. She currently rents a hotel room in the city of Miki with a friend. Is something strange about young masters? Is the master of Rider not a young boy as well? It's not her age, it's her lack of identity. She lacks any surname, was found bloody and injured on the road and nursed in a hospital, and has been identified as a magus, one with far more power than one her age should ever have. The male companion is no different. His name is Shiro, no surname, was found unconscious and soon woke after a week or so. His movements are trained, experienced, and he managed to drag him and Hanami away from the church's prying eyes, though the girl seems unaware of this. And lastly, Father Rise mentioned that the two felt eerily similar to a servant. A servant? The implications are not lost on her. A mage and a warrior with a presence similar to that of a servant. Their identities are sparse, and both are talented and powerful. And most of all, Sha Nakba Imuru activates, and the universe unveils within her mind, her soul reaching towards the well of all existence. The records of Akasha unfold, and the tales of the world shines upon its pages. Futures of mankind open one by one, the limitless possibilities of humanity shone upon it. And yet, their futures are not set. Fate has no hold over them. Laughter erupts from her, shocking the man who anchors her to this world, but she cares not. Those two are existences that defy the truth, their souls untrapped by the chains of the world. Interesting. Two people who fate cannot hold. Interesting. Humans that have surpassed their limits, their beings expanding beyond truth. Such incredibility. Her heart roars in simple excitement to meet them. Tokiomi. She turns to the man, her lips curled to a smile. Let's watch this unfold, shall we? The man's eyes widen, and he soon smiles back. Very well, my king. Quest, reach the core, has been completed, dragoons have become your ally. You gained the unique skill, blessed by dragons. You have gained, Malsera. Extra mission Alpha has been completed, you have gained, Hakurii Amulet. Extra mission Beta has been completed, you gained the unique, Umbrana. Phew, that's one hell of a long notification list. I kinda want to just put it away for later, I'm still tired, and continue resting in this wonderfully comfy hotel bed, but I'll probably forget, so I'll just read them all now and get it over with. Blessed by Dragons LV Max, you are a hero amongst their kind, a beacon that pushed away the gnawing corruption. Now, their fears have been put to rest, and the world can begin to regrow anew, the cracked earth slowly healing from time. It is all due to you, and they give you their blessings, their wishes on your safe travels. Thank you, gamer. All dragons are relatively peaceful with you. All dragon-based attacks are strengthened by plus 100% damage from all dragon-based attacks are reduced by 25%. Damn, that fuses really well with the skill I recently got. Dude, just thinking of how much damage potential this thing has is making me so giddy. God, I would have liked to test it right now, but the weakness from purifying the core is still weighing down on me, and it's only been 2 days, so I still need to rest. And Akari, who became a frequent visitor after getting an idea on what I did, proceeded to slap me back down onto the bed when I tried to go out. Malsera, rank B, Alpha and Omega. Beginning and end. Land and the sky. Part the earth, and I shall rise. Requires 100 intelligence and 80 wisdom to wield, plus 65 intelligence, wisdom, and agility when wielded, plus 35 luck when wielded. Any magical spells cast with this staff is increased by a rank, casts a passive dome of warmth, slowly healing anyone who is inside. Range and speed of the healing depends on the wielder's intelligence. Any earth-based and water-based magical spells cast with this staff is strengthened by plus 100%, strange. It still seems incomplete. Perhaps it can still be upgraded further, can be soul-bound. This one's pretty damn nice as well, with its white body and green crescent-shaped gem on top. But, hey, it's almost like my Alcema's complete opposite. Heck, even some of the stuff it does is a complete contrast to mine. And just like my staff, it has that line of text just above from the bottom. Does that mean the two can be upgraded together, or maybe fused? I don't quite feel confident enough to attempt a fusion of the two powerful staves and proceed to break the two, so I think I'll leave that possibility for the future. Next. Hakurii Amulet, it's a amulet. With a yin-yang orb. Strange. This one doesn't have much description on it, so, I guess I'll have to find out sometime later then. Last one. Umbrana, rank B, Gathering and Refraction. Sky and Earth. Sea and Fire. Call upon me, and the sky shall tear. Requires 100 strength and dexterity to use, plus 70 strength and agility when wielded, plus 20 luck when wielded, plus 10 intelligence and wisdom when wielded, minus 30 vitality when wielded. Fires arrows made from the wielder's prana. Fired arrows are not affected by gravity once it strikes. The arrows will detonate. Arrows fired at flying or airborne enemies deal 100% more damage. Hey, it's the first weapon I haven't been able to wield. Or see. It's kinda annoying really, since it sounds pretty damn cool, but the bow's currently grayed out right now, so I'll need to get my strength up to 100 to see it. Other than that, the bow sounds fairly average, but that's only words, right? I'll need to test out its uses later. Now, with all the items reviewed. ID, create. The world around me twists slightly and I jump away, just in time as the wall behind me shatters. Green lightning dances across the hotel room, but I've already jumped off, using prana propulsions on each leg to slow my fall. As I descend, I watch the green lightning arc all across the hotel. And the tall building explodes, the large construct barely holding up against it. I should have known. I mutter as I glance at the back of my left hand, seeing a familiar red mark glowing on it. I haven't quite told anyone about it, but I feel like Akari already knows about it. Still, with this, I'm officially considered a master of Fourth Holy Grail War, and I'll need to summon a servant soon. I suppose it's understandable why someone would eliminate me now, I guess. Still, how this unknown master managed to find me confuses me. I'll think about it later. For now, the girl who just landed across from me is far more important. Her pink hair and wedding dress doesn't quite match with the mechanical horn on her forehead and the weird steampunkesque hammer/mallet thing she's holding, but it does give her a recognizable look, one I easily remember from a certain Fate spin-off. The creation of Frankenstein. Fran LV 135, HP, 57.661/60.000 MP, /. Stamina, -% the monster created by Dr. Frankenstein, a doctor from a famous story of the same name. In the path to create the ultimate life form, and to bring back life from the dead, Fran was born, but the doctor saw her as a scourge and threw her away, causing her to kill her own creator in an act of desperation, before she leaves to wander the lands, hoping to find what she feels she lacks in her heart. And now she stands before you, her weapon poised and her goals set. Of course, I immediately noticed the decreasing health pool she has, but I had to stop my pondering and focus on dodging. Because, seriously, for someone who looks like that and wears a wedding dress, she moves real freaking fast. Like, I can barely keep my eyes on her, even with my mystic eyes active. It's crazy. Ultimately, it's with the combined efforts my mystic eyes and me wielding my two staves that I'm able to fight on somewhat even ground with the servant. Also, any normal magic attacks gets absorbed and turned into that green lightning dancing all around her. Don't quite remember the name of the skill, but it basically turns any magic she has into that lightning, and with that mace thingy of her being able to absorb prana, the synergy they bring makes her even stronger than she already is. And that is why this battle became my first test on using the attribute enchant, dragon, skill, since it makes my magic projectiles harder to absorb, maybe because it damages her more. Now. With a shout, I slam both my staves onto the asphalt. Green lines of draconic prana stretch far across the roads, reaching onto the buildings. Gihen. The lines cackles, before everything around me shatters. Roads and walls shatter to dust, and Fran's uncovered feet jerk violently, blood leaking from the opened wounds my widespread, Gihen, caused. It doesn't stop her from leaping towards me, but barrier, Alcima, passively casts around me gives me a moment quickly jump away before it shatters from the force of Fran's mace. The 2 gems on my staves blink, and a dome of draconic bullets surrounds the servant. It isn't enough, and the girl's lightning easily breaks apart the approaching bullets, but it does give me enough time to charge a superpowered draconic bullet. The bullet spins, gathering the air around it and twisting it, forming a spear of wind over it, and I fire it. The superpowered bullet flies, and Fran doesn't quite have enough time to spin her mace around to hit and absorb some of the blow. The bullet strikes her shoulder, and the twisting projectile pierces right through her right shoulder, bursting out in a splash of blood. GRRRRRR. Green lightning arcs around the berserker, and her HP decreases even faster. Instincts blare, and I ready both my staves, prepared to counter the noble phantasm. And then it stops, and Fran loosens. She gives me one last gaze, before she fades, ending the battle. I let out a sigh, before plopping my tired ass down on the asphalt. I think I'll stay here, just for a bit. In the end, I didn't tell Shiro or Akari. I didn't really have a reason to, you see. But, with Fran's recent attack on my healing self, I think it's about prime time for Shiro and I to depart for Fuyuki. Akari's not joining us, mostly because she's still busy playing nurse and she doesn't want to involve herself in the Grail War. She also seems fairly familiar with the Grail. Something to ask later, I guess. So, after a bit of packing and inventory stuffing, Akari bid us goodbye as we vanished into an empty ID, and, now that I have enough time to be smart about things, used the full reality to make our way to Fuyuki with our max speed, bypassing both the sound barrier and local authorities. I mean, I could have just taken the train there, but that'll take too long. That, and having the wind blow by is much more fun. And I've been way too still lately. Haven't had a good fight before the one with Fran. Even the readers are annoyed. I sigh. Honestly, I'm itching for some action after the 1-week resting period I suffered under. Of course, I'm not stupid enough to go looking for trouble, especially with the plot of Fate/Zero beginning to kick up, but damn it, I'm probably going to grow senile from boredom and die if I don't do something. That aside though, I have several things to do upon our arrival, like setting up a base for us to stay in, a summoning circle for me to use. Oh, and to kill that psychopathic prick. I actually quite like him as a character. He's an interesting breath of fresh air compared to the other, much more grim and cynical characters in the series, excluding young Waver, but like hell I'll ever meet the dude. Yeah, he's a cool character, but not a human being I'd like to interact with. Anyways. After about an hour of flying, we both make it to Fuyuki, and, damn if it doesn't look familiar. Some things are slightly different here and there, and several stores from the future haven't opened yet, but dang, this entire place makes me feel homesick. Shiro's the same, though he's a bit distracted at the moment, probably because his adoptive dad will be here, fighting in the war their previous world had been destroyed by. A bit of sightseeing later, I rented a hotel room for the month we're staying here and left Shiro to relax. I make it down, exit the hotel, and placing a hand over my eyes and subtly using my mystic eyes, I skim through the history of this place to find where Yuryu Ryunosuke currently is, and... oh, he's chilling at his house. How convenient. I quickly phase into an empty ID, and fly my way to his house. The house itself was surprisingly normal for a guy as twisted as him, but the aura it held, and the echoes of the children and women he'd tortured and killed swiftly broke any illusions the place held. This was a place of death and blood, so much so that the plot of land the house is on had become corrupted. I enter, and inside, I phase back to reality. Hearing the sounds of a TV and a lazy grumbling further down the house, I slowly make my way towards the living room. And there, lazily sits Yuryu Ryunosuke, chilling at his couch and stifling a yawn. And that's the last yawn you'll ever have. A loud wet splat sounds, and slowly, in disbelief, Ryunosuke looks down at the gaping hole on his chest, right where his heart used to be. His eyes then move to me and the thunderer in my hands, and he laughs. So uncool. And he flops back, dead, warm blood trailing down his drilled torso. He's not a master, oh well, it's not like I'll change my decision if he's a master. The man's better dead anyways. I wonder if that curry place is open. And so, I leave the house behind. Gilgamesh was very intrigued when Tokiomi mentioned this curry food his wife loved to cook for him. The man was passionate, but expressive he was not. But the sheer happiness and longing he held when he spoke of it spoke volumes of the love he held for the dish. And as a king, wasn't it her duty to enjoy such delicacies? But that is not the only reason she came out this fairly quiet evening. She felt the entrance of two particular souls. One was of tempered steel, still hot and hammered down, still in the process to refine it. But the other was of an expanse, far and wide, much like the night sky that holds the stars above. A soul of infinite possibilities, of countless advancement. It was subtle, but once she saw it, she couldn't help but be drawn to it. And so here she was now, sitting at the curry restaurant, awaiting her orders while waiting for the individual she'd been waiting for. Then, the doorbell chimes, and in comes a young girl, her hair a soft light brown and her eyes a striking green, and she knew she was the one. And, as her eyes meet hers, it seems the same holds for her, seeing her eyes widen in shock. The girl takes an uncertain step forward, her eyes looking around for an empty seat, only to find none. Gilgamesh smirks, gesturing the girl to sit beside her. The girl looks uncertain for a moment, before walking and sitting down by her table, her chair facing Gilgamesh's. So. The girl begins first, uncertain and hopeful. Fancy meeting you here, If you know my name, then say it. There is no need to hide my own name in my presence. The girl blinked at her words, before a smile begins to form on her lips. Right, fancy meeting you here, Gilgamesh, wasn't quite expecting to meet another servant so quickly. Oh. So you've met another before? The girl nodded, and the hidden wariness in her eyes vanished. Yeah. It was fun, but it was cut short. Didn't help that I was still recovering from some injuries then. She said, and stopped. Oh, right. My name's Tanaka Hanami. Call me Hanami. Gilgamesh smiles at the cheery response, but the sudden coming of her plate of curry interrupted any further talk. And what a dish it is. It is simple in design, and one could say it is but rice with sauce. But the fragrance it has, the texture, and the many little herbs and spices mixed into it to give it that spicy and savory taste. It was a far departure from the food she once ate as a king, but she cared not. All she needed was some wine for the occasion, and everything would be perfect. Oh, right, 1 plate of curry please. The woman who served the food nodded at Hanami's request and went to the kitchen. Completely forgot I came here to eat. You've been on a long journey, I suppose. Gilgamesh says, giving a taste of the wine bottle she'd taken out, and yes indeed, did the curry go well with the wine. Ah, such a great combination. Well, not long, just boring. Hanami says, sighing, before blinking at the bottle of wine she places on her side of the table. She stares at it for a moment, her mouth opening slightly, a sentence ready to be said. But then she closes it, thinks for a moment, and, with a shrug, opens the bottle and takes a sip. Ah, that's the stuff, she says, positively melting into her chair, any tension she held fading away. It's quite adorable actually. Of course. It is wine made by my kingdom. She claims with pride, remembering the many parties her kingdom celebrated, drinking the sacred liquid until they all fell drunk. Hanami smiles wryly, before adopting a thoughtful look. Actually, why are you so friendly with me? Should I not? Again, Hanami shrugs. Interesting, Gilgamesh thinks. She'd leaked a small but noticeable amount of pressure into her words, and the girl hardly seemed to notice, or if she did, didn't react to it. It shows confidence, a strong belief in oneself, and it greatly reminded her of the many brave warriors she'd fought beside in her battle towards heaven. Soon, Hanami's plate of curry arrives, and they continue their dinner, idly conversing of the many topics they have in mind. And at the end, as they bid farewell to one another and promise to meet again, Gilgamesh affirmed that, had Hanami been born in her time, she would have been a great and outstanding warrior. But, better late than never. Waver Velvet is, confused. Happy, ecstatic, but confused. He'd stolen from his jackass of a teacher, flew all the way to Japan, made his lodgings with a nice elderly couple, and summoned his servant. Servant Castor. Are there any medical prescriptions I need to know before we make a contract? The ritual was to summon a spirit of old, a manifest ion of heroes of the past. Which was why he was shocked to see a woman garbed only in a blue and red dress, wearing a hat similar to a nurse's appear before him. Yagakoro Iron, she said her name was, and even after many hours of searching through any sources he could find, her name never appeared. But he doesn't really care. In fact, the war is the farthest thing in his mind currently. Caster is fittingly a doctor, but a miraculous one. Befitting of a caster, the spells she fires are strong, much stronger than even the most powerful mages in the clock tower, but what Waver found more interesting was her talent in alchemy. She knows all the techniques, and even recipes of ancient potions, holding immense power in each. It was why, with his already budding interest in alchemy, he asked her to teach him, and she surprisingly agreed, though him being her master might have been why. And that was why he is now scratching his head, staring intently at the bubbling bottle placed on the table before him with absolute confusion. Caster does teach him, but does so as more of an assistant than a teacher. She gives a demonstration, explains the reasoning and concepts, and lets him do his thing, helping him out when he needs it. But, for once, he's trying to solve the problem he's faced with without relying on Caster. A prana enhancing potion. That's the project he's currently stuck on. It's simple on paper, with it boosting the OD capacity of the one who drinks it. But OD is stored in a Magus magic circuits, and magic circuits are the Magus soul given form through their body. How does one potion bolster the body and the soul? Are you sure you don't need help there? Caster says, looking over his shoulder to see his progress. Maybe later. Waver says with a sigh, slumping back onto the chair. He runs a quick hand through his hair, taking a deep breath to calm himself. The last few hours had not been kind on him, and his normally silky hair was all crumpled. Truly. Then shall we head out? Waver directs a questioning glance at her. It seems the seventh servant has been summoned. The war will soon start. Oh, right. That. I forgot. He says with a weak chuckle, though that faded to silence as he sees her lips curve to a small smile. Yes, I did as well, it's been a while since I had a willing student. Caster turns her gaze out the window, staring into the setting skies. A long while. Anyways, what should we do now, Caster? Scouting our opponents would do us good. What do you say? He nods, and they soon leave the house, following the burst of prana Caster had felt earlier. So Kanatha's servant is Kintoki. Interesting, I'd already taken his spot as the master of Lancer, but I didn't expect him to summon a berserker. Then again, Kintoki's only very loosely a berserker, and someone who wasn't going to cause trouble for him and his target of affection, so he should be fine. Saber's still Arturia, with Kiritsugu as her master and Irisveil masquerading for him. Iskandar and Waver didn't appear at all. Instead, Astolfo's the rider, and his master is, a normal girl? Yeah, not a Magus, no Magus bloodline, just a normal girl, who's dressed more like a boy. Guess that's why Astolfo showed up. And me? I'm just casually watching them from the top of the hotel, using my mystic eyes to probe them as they fought. But this isn't only to probe them. Oh, no. I think it's about time I start getting serious and take every single advantage I can. Enemies are getting stronger, and I have no more time to spare. Sword Mastery has leveled up X15. Due to certain actions, you have gained the skill, Axe Mastery. Axe Mastery has leveled up X22. Sadly, the skirmish ended when Gilgamesh shows up, cutting me off from diving into Astolfo's history, but that's fine, I guess. My head's hurting all over, and I'm pretty sure the night sky isn't supposed to look like spinning wheels of cheese. I don't think I want to faint at the moment, especially considering the height I'm currently at. Oh, are we done, Master? I blink, turning to the right to see a blonde girl in a medieval tunic, holding a frankly oversized and futuristic lance in her hand. Oh, right. I summoned her, didn't I? Well, I must really be out of it right now. Anyways, this is Gareth, one of the youngest, and definitely most pure knight of the Round Table. A young and inexperienced knight, she treated all of the other knights with great awe and respect, and held a particular admiration for Lancelot. Ultimately, it is that admiration that led to her downfall, her life ironically ending in the hands of the man she admired most. Yep. I've done enough scouting for the day. I'm not going to sleep though. Things are picking up now, and my stamina's still at a full 100%. It'll be a great waste if I spend all that unused energy sleeping. So I step foot into my soul forge, Gareth following closely behind me. My goal here is short and simple, mix both, Alcima, and, Malsera. Didn't have the chance to do so earlier, so I might as well do them now. Besides, after reviewing my previous battle with Fran, I realized just how daft of a feeling it is to hold two staves at the same time. Makes me wonder how Diarmuid can keep a straight face while wielding two spears at the same time. I can see Gareth's practically shining in interest, and I give a small amused smile at the excited interest she holds at the two staves I've placed on the magical anvil. I gave my fingers a good crack, and I get to work. The world fades around me. Sounds vanish. Feelings numb. In that moment, with knowledge borrowed from master smiths of old, I begin to strike, heating the two staves down and hammering them together. Materials flow out from my inventory and onto the floor, and prana dances around me, glowing an ephemeral blue. My mystic eyes are wide open, and I see into its history, into its past and future. Slowly, the two are becoming one. Any tears I find I mend. Any uneven chinks I spot I hammer down. Any clashing energies I detect I drain out. Then, two special materials appear down onto the anvil. A shard of the Titan's sword, unflinching and withstanding. A crystal from the dragon's core, its taint purified. Both are soon melted and melded into the staff, their powers and histories bleeding into the construct. My mystic eyes flare to full concentration, and the fires of the Soul Forge flare to the symphony of my soul. And so, the two staves are melded into one, with the remnants of the two beings that once lived in those lands fused into them. But it isn't finished. The staff was still empty, a sturdy shell waiting to be filled. So I gently carry the newly forged staff in my hands, closing my eyes. To save Shiro from his fate. To destroy the Grail and stop its calamity. To stand and fight. To reach for the shining kaleidoscope. And to grow strong and live, to see the wonders of the universe. And poured. My heart and soul, my thoughts and emotions, my aspirations and dreams. Everything I poured deep into the staff, and it accepts. So, with the new staff in hand, its body a polished black with strange and captivating runes engraved on it, and a miniature core of the dragon floating atop it, I'd say I did a pretty good job. Also Malsera, rank A+, to withstand the ends and beginnings. To lose and gain. To depart and return once more. This is my oath, my gift. I am Alpha and Omega, everything and nothing. Call upon me. Call my name, and the world shall bend for you. A noble phantasm created by Tsunaka Hanami, forged with the steel of divinity and the heart of dragons. The history the two staves it was made from is forever lost, melded and fused with the desires of its creator. Requires 150 intelligence and 100 wisdom to wield, plus 120 intelligence and wisdom when wielded, plus 50 agility and luck when wielded. Any magical spells cast with this staff is increased by a rank, creates a dome of light around the wielder, protecting the ones within and healing them. Any spells, rank C, or under is negated by the barrier. Range, speed, and intensity of the effects depends on the wielder's intelligence. Any fire-based, water-based, wind-based, and earth-based magic spells cast with this staff is strengthened by plus 100%. Soul-bound, to Tsunaka Hanami. Yep, definitely a good job. Are you okay, Master? I hear Gareth ask from above. No, wait, I'm the one on the floor. Why the hell am I on the floor? MP, 21/27.260, stamina, 14%. Ah, that's why. I'm fine. I say, smiling as Gareth carefully helps me stand, just really tired. I didn't expect to use all my prana doing that. Gareth flinches, shocked, and turns to me. But, if you've run out of prana, how am I still here? Ha. That's right. Gareth should be suffering from my lack of prana, but she seems fine. I don't know. And I don't really want to find out. Well, let's go, Gareth. I say, excited, and then coughed. Gareth's increasing worry doesn't quite put out the excitement in my heart though. Because I've made a noble phantasm baby. If you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later, bye bye.